Congratulations to the Christians who prayed for and voted for Viktor Orbán. His party, the Fidesz party, has won the national election. He is now in for the third term in Hungary. And this is great because his party, despite what the mainstream media says, is pro-Christian, pro-church, pro-Israel, pro-Hungary, and pro-Europe. And they'll just twist words and say he's anti-immigrant. You know, they do that when we Christians are, pro-life, pro-baby, pro-mother, pro-family, and they twist it and say we're anti-abortion. You might as well call Christians anti-devil. But this is what the mainstream media does. They're trying to do it through every news outlet. They try to do it through Newsweek, Times, CNN, BBC, and now they even got Obama and his ex-administrative officials on the board of Netflix. So I guess, if you're a Christian, you might as well just cancel Netflix. But they try to do all of this and they still lose. They are making bad investments. People like George Soros have invested into the Hungarian election and he's lost. So these guys are making bad investments. Investments in God is working. Investments in righteousness, in traditional values is working. This is where the return is. So I want to take you to a service to explain for those who are in the international audience why Hungary is so important in the plan of God. Please enjoy. The nation of Hungary, if you're not aware of what it is, it's a landlocked country. It used to be much bigger. Its territories were chipped away after World War I. So lots of it was carved out to Serbia, Slovakia, Romania, all of this, Croatia. What's interesting about this place? Let me just give you a little summary. It became a Christian nation in 1000 AD. It is a bastion of Christianity. I think very few people would realize that. Let me tell you, Hungary was invaded by the Huns or the Mongols. These are the Asians. Then the Ottoman Muslims. In fact, even after the Muslims went up to Vienna, which is now present-day Austria, and they were defeated and pushed back, guess what? They stayed in Budapest. They stayed in Hungary for another 150 years. And you know what the Hungarians were doing? They were trying to tell Europe, the Muslims are here. They're doing this. They're selling our babies. They're kidnapping our girls and our children. They're abusing us and they're enslaving us. And you know what happened? Western Europe never believed. Same story today, isn't it? Same story today, and they're still going through this. Then the German Nazis conquered them. After the Nazis were defeated, the Soviet communists conquered them. So here's a country that knows what it means to be oppressed. They know what bad government looks like. They've had conflict with the Muslims for 1,000 years. And they're saying, enough is enough. They don't want more Muslims in their country. We ought to be praying. And you know that today, as I'm standing here speaking this, do you realize at this moment, it is the Hungarian national election? You can't orchestrate these things. How did you get here today? God ordered your steps. For the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And we're now spiritually connected to Hungary. I'll show you. So Viktor Orbán, their current prime minister, built a border wall saying, we're not going to have Angela Merkel's, suicidal immigration policy. Just let anybody come into Europe and change European culture. Up to now, present day, 2018, there is not a single mosque in Hungary. That is a unique situation in Europe. And we ought to be celebrating this nation and lifting it up as a prototype. And guess what else? You'll never see this sign in Germany. This is a sign that's, you see the flow of immigrants? I've shown you that picture before. That's on my PowerPoint before. Well, they have that, like every half kilometer, you'll see that sign. Muslims coming in, stop. Big stop sign. We don't want any. They're so bold and courageous. You'll never see this. This is at the bus stops. It says, no to George Soros candidates. Don't vote for people paid for by George Soros. You'll never see that in France. I don't think you even see that in America. These guys are fighting for the truth. This guy is a globalist. They call him an investor. What does he invest in? He invests in national elections. He is influencing. You know that I went up to Melbourne CBD and we had a Black Lives Matter protest in Melbourne. And I'm thinking, how many black people do we have in Australia? The ones we have are Aborigines, and they never have a Black Lives movement. In fact, they weren't there. Who are these people? Paid for by George Soros, even in Melbourne. He's trying to destroy and re-engineer our culture. One man with all this money. Something that we need to pray about. So here's the guy, Viktor Orbán, that is fighting all of this. Very boldly, very courageously. And we prayed for him, and I just ask you tomorrow also pray for him. Even if he wins today, he needs prayer. I got this magazine, Newsweek, and what's the article on the front page? Viktor Orbán. I opened it up. I thought, let me read it. You know, they always say bad things about Donald Trump. I wonder what they'll say about Viktor Orbán. Hello, dictator. And he's the total opposite of a dictator. A dictator is someone who wants to conquer everybody else. He doesn't want to conquer anybody. He just wants to keep Hungary Hungarian. We want to keep Australia Australian. Trump wants to make America great again. These are the words of somebody who's not dictatorial. Then look at this cover. Look at this absolute lie that they make. You see, if you look at the Newsweek cover, you'll see he looks like some evil man. And if you look, I know it's hard on the screen, but they make his eyes to even stare straight at you like he's about to kill you or eat you or something. Only in Hungary, they showed me this. They said they have the original photo of Viktor Orbán. And it was taken during a trip. Look at his eyes. He's looking away. Look at his necktie. It's blue. They said they actually photoshopped and they physically changed his facial structures to make him look evil. And this is the lie that most young people believe in. If you do this, just replace it with Donald Trump. They'll believe it. Put it on CNN. They'll believe it. I taught you guys that this is the image of the beast. The book of Revelation predicts that in the last days, people will be deceived by the millions by an image. An image is a graphic. They even call it computer-generated images, CGI. And you won't be able to tell what's true and what's false because people now believe in images. They won't even read. They won't even study. They won't even read their Bibles. Look at this one. YouTube headquarters shooter. Now look at what Mashable did. This lady, if she had been a right-wing Trump supporter, she'd be on the news 24 hours a day. But when the news came out, first they said it was a domestic case, and turns out absolute lie. I knew it was not a domestic case, but I was waiting for the news. Then the news came out, turns out she's an Iranian, she's a Muslim, she's a woman, and she's a left-winger. A left-winger means someone who hates Trump. Animal rights activist, guess what? Immediately the news on this died. Then when they want to present her, look, they actually, I don't know if you can see, what's the matter with this photo? One's got brown eye, which is the original, one's got blue eyes. They're photoshopping this. So I documented how the devil does this and convinced people of so many things you believe are absolute lies, including evolution. One of the great images they make is the picture of the ape walking on four and slowly becoming erect until they become a computer scientist, I guess. That is a lie that you believe only because that image has been shown you so many times. But between the monkey and the human, there's never been found anything in between. It's all imagination. And yet people believe that image. This is the pastor of the largest evangelical church in Europe. This means, besides the Catholic Church, there is no other church bigger than this. And guess what? It's in Hungary. I didn't know that. And I listened to him. I asked him questions. We fellowshiped for hours and hours and hours. And you know what? He's basically like Discover Church. Everything that he's saying, everything that we're saying, we're in agreement. So we have a prototype that this works. And you know what? There's a YouTube following of this ministry in Hungary. You know how that came about? One person decided to take what I teach and convert it to his gift. His gift was translating into Hungarian. This is why you all have a part to play in this. It has to be your gift, has to be fully expressed by what you're receiving from us. So because he did that, there's a whole group of people that follow us over there, and because of that, Pastor Shandor was quite intrigued by our ministry. And he can't speak English, so he doesn't follow us. But he had some things translated, and he said he liked it. So he invited me. And you know what? I spoke about the Hungarian election. I spoke about government. And this is the proof of the pudding. Can you speak about the Bible in a way that other churches might not approve and see people get saved? And people came streaming down to accept Jesus Christ. Come on, praise God for that one. This is the proof. If you preach the Bible, God will confirm it with signs following. Now I want to read something to you. He wrote this in Hungarian. It was translated into English. Many of his own church members admitted they hadn't read it. So I said, I'm going to read you your own pastor's words, and they were laughing because a lot of them didn't know this. But this is why I respect and I feel drawn to this man of God. After the Paris attack, there were calls in Hungary for government lawmakers to change the law and protect Christians. How many of you would like that? Say, protect Christians, right? Well, Pastor Shandor is kind of like me. He looks at things long term. I say things that maybe short term seem strange, but long term, God vindicates me. So he said this at that time. After the terrorist attack in Paris, some religious leaders and politicians have demanded an impossible solution from the free world. They want to set protection of religions before freedom of speech. They would punish criticism against the founders and representatives of religion. He said, in Paris and in other European cities, kings, emperors, and even the Pope of Rome were deprived of such special protection long ago. Our civilization reached freedom through great sacrifices. Let me paraphrase what that means. It says, Christianity does not want special status. Christians want to protect the right of all people to like us or to criticize us. And we want to reserve the right to like or criticize any other religion. Jesus himself was crucified because of his rightful criticism of corrupt religion. But his criticism of corrupt religion was presented as blasphemy by the political and religious leaders of his day. So don't you ask for special protection. Jesus did not get it. We want protection of freedom of speech before protection of religion. Now, how many leaders in Australia have the maturity to come out with a statement like that? We need this. We don't have an awakening. We don't have revival because we don't have preachers thinking at a national level for the future of this country. They're thinking about growing their church, and guess what? It works. My vision is that we survive as a civilization because Sharia law is coming into this country. And if you don't think that's going to affect you, you don't think you're going to get persecuted, your children are going to get affected, and the school's going to get affected, it's already happening. So the unwillingness to force our ideas on others, no matter how right we believe we are, demonstrates the superiority of our way of life. Our way is the Christian way of life. No other religion will protect other people. We protect everyone. Amen? People now, if they don't believe in Christianity, they believe in big government. And if you think that I'm being exaggerating, you know that legislators have become the people's priests. They're the intermediator. When you have a problem in Australia, who do people look to? Legislators, make a law for us. Please, save us. Make a law. The Capitol building, the Parliament buildings, you know how they're designed all over the Western world? To look like a church, to look like the old-time cathedral. Look at how grand they are, made of stone and marble. It's a religious feel. You'll get that religious awe going into Western parliamentary buildings. The government has become God for people who don't know Jesus Christ. And I show you a picture of the parliament building of Hungary. It's beautiful. It's as grand and as religious looking as any cathedral you'll ever find. I spoke about good government, all this in the Justice series, okay? So if you want to catch up on that, do that.